So today's project is we're going to take a workbench and make it a base. This is a table from Harbor Freight. Has good drawers in it. And we're going to make this our base to build our workbench on. We're going to go right over the top of this, put our boards on it. We're going to continue out with our boards, and we will end up with hopefully a 12-foot workbench inside this 16-foot shed, which will give me 2 foot at each end. This end over here is going to be for the air unit that's going to be sitting there. This end over here is going to give me access to this corner so I can put a shelving unit that is probably where all the tools we're not using are going to be. So I'll make a shelf to put the scale saw on, a scroll saw. I'll make a shelf to put the router table on, and then I'll have all my other tools over there for hand tools, as well as our shelving unit. So that's what we're doing today. So let's get some wood and see where we end up, and we'll go from there. So I'm looking around to see what I want to put inside the workbench. I mean, not in the workbench, in the work shed for doing stuff. And I found this little kit. So today we're going to be trying this kit. The kit comes with various colors, as you can see. It comes with various tools. We're going to try one of these today. And we're going to be using this for our measuring. And we'll see what happens. Little sharpener. So let's find out how that works. Okay, so since I am building a workbench so I can put my tools on, one thing I have to do is actually know the height of the tool. So this is becoming kind of an unboxing. So my carpentry shed is not designed or going to be designed in such a way so I can do furniture building and stuff. This is going to be designed for small projects. So that being said, I got myself a chop saw that's a little bit smaller than what most people will get. So that was simple. That's the unboxing of the chop saw. All kinds of stuff and who yada yada yada, but here's the deal. This needs to sit on the workbench at a certain height. So that is going to be my delay height. Just like that. And it clicks into place easily, and there's 0. So this tells me 2 things. I can put this all the way against the wall because I can still access it. My output for my vacuum is right here on top. It's not on the bottom. So if I do a workbench, which is 24 inches, that works perfect. Second thing it tells me, I need a 3.5 inch 3.5. I need a 3.5 inch hole in the workbench so this can be set down. That way I can put long pieces of wood or something on it that's longer, and it will actually lay on the workbench on the other side. So this is going to be a 3.5 inch inclive. So that's the two things I get told by this. So some measurements that we've done is this right now is 2 feet away from this wall. That's my goal. 2 foot of space. This is now 2 feet away from the wall. This piece of wood is absolutely level. It is actually 38.5 inches tall. A lot of workbenches come 41. I have to ask myself, is it worth building a whole substructure here, putting wood on top of this to build it up, and then putting a piece of wood in the front? Or should I just take the edge here and put my support beam coming off here and have this be my level, and 38.5 will be my top? With what I'm building, what I'm putting in here, I think 38.5 will be fine. So what I got is I got my stool. So before you decide how big your workbench is going to be, or high, since it's designed for me, I want to make sure that in my older days, and I'm here working, I want to make sure I can get my trusty stool, sit down on it, and be able to work. That looks about perfect for me. So I could tinker on this. This is the right size. If it was any higher, I'd have to actually put my hands up. This is the right size to actually put my hands up when I'm sitting on the stool and work and do what I gotta do. Just in case I have a lot of little pieces or something to do, I can sit on my stool and do that. So yes, 38.5 is gonna be the height of the workbench. Verified by actually working, or simulation of working. This floor is completely level. Just bought the shed, it's perfect. So it's actually 38 3/4. So the easiest way to do this is to put a 2x8 at this end, then go down 3.5 inches and finish off the rest of that with another set of boards to fill the gap in to get my 24-inch workbench. The problem with that is it my best option to have my chop saw at one end of the workbench instead of in the middle. I'm limiting myself, and then I'm not limiting myself. If I put my chop saw at one end of the workbench, first thing I'm doing is limiting. So if I go across my workbench, and then I go down, and then go across the rest of the way, I'll end up with 8 foot here, end up with 3 feet here. That's what I'll end up with. And then I'll have my drawers at this end, have a shelving unit here, and then have another shelving unit over here. So I'll be able to put all my other saws under here, and this should be big enough here, so I will be able to take and put my router table when I'm not using it under there. And then I'll put a shelf right above where the router table goes, so I'll have a cubby for the router table. At this end, I will have my bandsaw. So this does two things for me. Doing it this way accomplishes two things. I end up having enough room to put my lower piece and then some extra room for work on. So I'll have an extra foot off the end, because this will be right up to this right here, so it goes right into the chop saw. And if I put it in the middle, if I build my workbench with a lower spot in the middle, I am limited to cutting something that is not 8 foot, because I only have a 16-foot shed. So if actually it is 182 inches. So it's a little bit over 15-foot shed on the inside. So if I was to take a piece of wood, and let's say I want to take an 8 piece of wood and I want to cut an inch off it, do I have enough room to go from the wall and be able to get my inch? No, because I don't have a place for an 8-foot board. If I put it 8-foot board and then put this in, now I'm free to actually cutting, because I still have 2 foot over here. I'm free to cut up to a 12-foot, and I can cut the end off a 12-foot or a design off a 12-foot. So this gives me more space to actually cut. Yes, I can only cut from one direction, but the saw pivots in each direction. So I just turn the board around. This one here, I'm limited to the size I need. And if it's not a board, well, if I want to cut a pipe or something like that, this will allow me to do that. That extra foot might end up being, I know it is because I used to own one, enough to put a chop saw in. Build that back up a little bit. It's not going to be 3.5 inches, but it might be an inch up. And then I can put my chop saw for metal and like that right next to my wood saw. So I think this is the winner. 8 foot over. It's also the winner because it's easier to build. This is a full 8-foot piece. So now I put my 8-foot boards down. This end of the workbench is done. Put a support here, put a support here, put a support here. So I'm going to be doing box supports, which means you hook a piece of wood to the wall. You run off the top of that with a side support with a little groove in it, and there's your side support for weight going down. You run that up, you put another piece of wood going down, touching the piece of wood on the floor. That is my front support. I guess it got humid out. At least it works. So then I have my 4 pieces of wood making a box. And I can put a piece of wood here, and now I have a box with a shelf. Make 3 of these, one at the one end, one in the middle, and one at the other end, at the end of my 8 foot. So I'll have one of those here, one of those here, one of those here. Then I cut down, put a 2x8 here. So that goes down. Actually 3.5, I can even do a 2x4. Put a 2x4 here, and then put my new piece of wood in, another box here at a lower level, another box here at a lower level. And again, we have that beam all the way across the back that's actually hooked to the wall. So first thing I'm going to do is make my beams. That is my full support going across, one beam in the top, one beam at the bottom. Let's start on that first piece of wood. I'm starting with 96, which is my 8 foot. I'm going to put 2 inches on that end, which is going to overhang, which is making it 94. Then I'm going to have 1.5 inches here, because I have to put a 2x6 that's going to fit flat to this for my corner, that's going to hang down below this. So the question is, do I want to put my 2x6 on the outside of this, or put my 2x6 under it? When it comes to workbench, to me, everything has to be under, because I want everything to help hold up everything else. And that way I can screw directly down and have my 2x6 right there to hold up. So that being said, that's 1.5 inches for the width. So I need to put a piece of wood that's 92.5. Okay, so I cut my piece of wood to my 92.5. Now I got to figure out where to put it. So this is my line. So I'm going to take my fake little piece of wood, draw another line, That's going to give you my support spot. So there's my support where it needs to come. Now, I'm going to take the piece of wood I just cut off, and I am going to draw a small line on that. Because if you have two people and you are building something, as I've said in the past, certain things are easy. When you have one person, certain things become a little bit hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an L bracket right here. And the L bracket is going to assist me as an extra hand to hold up this side of the piece of wood exactly where I want to put it. We all know that different pieces of wood are different widths and sizes. So the piece of scrap wood I'm using is exactly the same size because it came from my piece of wood that I just cut. There. I'll put my beam exactly where it needs to be for me to hook down that side over there. Now I have an extra helping hand to hold the beam up on that side when I drill some screws into the beam on this side. This is a metal shed. All these beams that run down are metal. So I'm going to start by using wood screws. But it's a metal shed. Well, I am going to start by using wood screws into the wood I have on the wall to hold up the board. Then I can pre-drill and countersink the rest of my screws. I know exactly where my beam's going to be. Now that's not going to fall off. My level's going to fall, but the beam's not going to fall. So now, since that's tight up there, I can put my level here. Put this down to a level point. And we're ready to go. Now, remember my board is going to be on top of my workbench. So I have an advantage that I wouldn't have if I just had something on the wall. I now have a flat edge that rolls around. So I can verify my piece of wood that all is well by putting my workbench right up next to it. Because that is where the beam is going to be on. Now if you notice, I just moved it. Let's come over here and check my measurement. That's one of the things that will happen when you put a screw in. If you're not putting it completely straight, it might pull the wood up or down, because if it's on an angle, it's going to pull towards where the angle goes. I believe that's what just happened to me on this. My board is level, everything is level. I have one screw at each end, just holding everything up. So now I can get rid of all this out of the way. I have my drill. I have to set my drill bit out so I can get through a couple pieces of wood. I'm going to be using the nail gun, but I'm not going to be using it when I'm attaching to the wall. I can use it when I attach to the floor. I can use it when I attach in the front, but I can't use it when I attach to the wall. So with that being said, we're going to be using some nail gun to put some of these things in. Now you have to remember that when you hook this stuff up, don't have a workbench. Make things a lot easier if you had a workbench. That's why I'm building a workbench. I have short ones in there from my other project. Let's get the short ones out. They are not going to work. Remember, this is just designed to hold it in place. It's going to be held in place by weight, because the weight is going to be going down on this, not sideways or up. So I have a straight wall. Am I going to use my wall that I put caulk behind stuff behind to get straight? No. I'm going to use the wall I'm working with, because that's what counts. Measuring from here to the wall might give me a level that's straight, but it's going to be straight to this wall. I'm not building on this wall, I'm building on this wall. So that's why I'm going to put my square against the wall, and that's how I'm going to square my piece of beam. Put it right to the edge, just like that. And I'm also going to get my level to make sure that from the end of this straight down is level. Because yes, the end here does not have a overhang. Is that level? That is level. So that is level. So that's where I start. That is not square. Square that to the wall. What I will do is I'm going to do an angle, not facing. There. Now that is in place. Okay, so I have my two beams. My bottom beam, my back beam. Able to go through. Now I have to put a piece across here and then a piece down. I'll be doing the same thing, connecting them together, and they should fit right in that hole. So where am I going to measure the piece across the back, the front, the top I mean? I'm going to measure it from the bottom. This represents my top piece. Now I can measure out, and I know, here we go again, 51 centimeters. Joseph would be proud that we're dealing with centimeters. So let's get my 51 centimeter piece marked to be cut. 51 centimeters. Cutting that. Be a lot easier when I get my chop saw installed. This will sit right across here. And then I put my front piece in. So, just to hold it, I'm going to put one nail right there, which I can always pull out. Moment of truth. It's live in living color. If I push this on these two pieces, am I level? Yes. I need a second level though. Make sure this checks. That is interesting. I gotta go get my good level. Okay, so I got the level I can trust. So I'm gonna put my tape measure there. Put it underneath the beam on the floor. Put my foot next to it so it stays there. Right at the front ledge. I'm gonna take my level. I'm now gonna move this up until it's level. And that tells me I need to be at 37 1/4. So, what I did is I did not measure the front. I need to be level from the back to the front. This is what counts. The rest of that's just support. As long as it's sitting on it, we're fine. The top is what people notice. The top is what you notice when you're trying to do a project. So it doesn't matter anything else. This must be level. So I hooked the back of my beam where it's going to be. I lifted up the front until it was level. And then I measured the distance from the top of this to the bottom of this. So now I can cut my beam. There's a wasp in here. Won't bother me. So where you can see it, where I'm not sitting, put it down. Put my foot next to it so it stays right there. Pushing it down. Putting this up. Looking at my level. Making my board level. Now I'm perfectly level, and I know that I need to be at 95 centimeters. So that wall, the floor of this is built in a shed. I'm not going to guarantee every piece of this floor, so that measurement will be the same for only this one. It might be the same for others. It might be completely different. Whatever it is what it is. Now I'm going to measure my 95 centimeter piece of wood and finish off my end beam. Okay, so now what I can do, put my beam exactly where it's going to be, knee against it, lift this up and put it right on here, and that should be perfectly level, which it is. And this will adjust right to that. So the first thing I'm going to do is attach this to the front. There. Second thing I'm going to do is attach this to the top. So yes, I nailed it. But you have to remember, nailing this isn't a major deal. All I'm doing is keeping it in place. This piece of wood is sitting on this floor, and that is my space. This is squaring this, and this is squaring this. So that keeps this straight. This is hooked to this, which is bolted to the floor, to the wall. So there you go. There, and that's still square, is my first beam. Now let's take our table and put it right where it's going to live forever. So I have 3 levels here. My big yellow one, my older orange one, and my faithful one. So why are we talking levels? We're talking levels for this simple purpose. Same table, same scenario, same place. First level, touching left side. Second level, touching right side. Third level, touching left side. So what does that tell you? This one is right where it's supposed to be, flat on the table. This one's right where it's supposed to be, flat on the table. Turn this sideways, still touches the wrong side. Turn it the other way. That's completely off now. So this level, which is one I've used for a couple projects, and I had some issues, is going to be thrown away. Levels go bad, that one is bad. So that's what took the delay earlier, because all this was done with questionable levels. If I turn this sideways, this one says it's perfectly level. This one says it's off of it. This is my Black & Decker. I've been taken care of. It's a great level. It's used for picture hanging. Has these little knobs that move back and forth. So it allows you to set exact holes. And then it has little springs so you can get right next to the wall. So yes. So these are the levels I'm going to use going forward. So my son asked me a question, why does it take me longer to do projects now? The fact is, when I do this camera thing, everything takes longer. I got to stop, I got to move the camera, I got to think about what I'm going to say. I can't just go run off and do it. So, for instance, this building, I needed to get this wood up. I didn't have time to do the camera, I didn't have time to get it done. I needed to get the wood up because I had to leave, but I needed the wood up for support. Not for support, need the wood up for installation purposes. So that's why there's no video of me putting the wood up, because it took me about 2 hours to put the wood up. If I filmed it, it probably would have taken most of a day. So this being in place, we know exactly where it is. That is level. Now we have to get our measurement from front to rear so we can put something here. So this is 23 inches out. This one needs to be 23 inches out. "23 inches out. So there's the height of our workbench minus the piece of wood that's being across there. Now we need to do a support here on the other side of this, so we have this not being what holds up the bench. We have a support somewhat in the middle, and then we'll have a support on the end. So we had a piece of wood that was 21 inches to go to the edge of that. 21 and a half. So if I take a piece of wood here and I put my beam right here where it needs to be, I measure from the wall to my beam 23, and measure from the floor to my beam, that's going to stay the same because that's against the wall. So now I know I can cut two 21 and a half inch pieces. So my first measurement is going to be 21.5 times 2. That's not going to change. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure up from here. I'm at 33 3/4. Measure the end. 33 3/4. So now I know that this beam, put down my beam I'm simulating, I can take a measurement from there. 21.5. What do you know about that? Exactly 32. .5 and exactly 32. So 21.5 times 2, and I have 32 times 2. The other two measurements are fluid. I have to measure when I get them in. So I can make 2 L brackets here and put them in. So let's cut our wood and make our 2 L brackets. I made my bracket. Just by chance, let's measure this. That actually is a little bit off. Yep, a little bit off level because the top has a barrier, the bottom doesn't. So now it's kind of level. This is not our standard. Our standard is going to be the top. That will be level. So this is put in such a way that it's right there next to shelves. Let's bring this in and bring this level because this is right. So I'm going to move the back in so that's square. Push it against the back wall. And put that in place. Now we're going to take our level again and put against this sideways and level this off so it's straight. And we're going to go from here and we're going to take our square to make sure we're square with our cabinet, which I am. And I'm going to put one going down as an angle to keep that in place. And as I said before, I'm not going to be using screws that can go through my building. If you notice, this one is not going sideways like the other one was. Because this, if I'm going to put a beam or something across, I can hook into it. I don't need to have the end piece that I can drill and put stuff coming out of. So it's not going to be sideways like that. And I'm looking for, right in front of me. So I'm going to do 2 different things here. I'm going to screw this into the wall. So it stays. B, I'm going to have a beam that sits right here. So I'm going to put another piece in front of this so I can hold up that beam. This beam is going to do a couple different things. I'm going to hold up the beam. Notice how it's not on center. It's off a little bit. I'm going to hold up the beam because this beam here is going to be right against there, just like that, and it's going to be bolted into my stand to keep my stand right where it belongs. So it's not going to be centered in my support, it's going to be centered off my support to get this, but I'm still going to get my downward motion because I have it on top of this. So it's still going to give support to my workbench. Now, as always, first thing I have to do now is figure out how long this is going to be. Should be 21 and a half. Because why? It's the same as the bottom. The bottom is designed so it goes against the wall, but a beam goes in front. The top is designed where it goes against the beam, but the front is in front. So if I do 21 and a half, I'll be right to the edge. Problem with that is, now I have no place to this to go. So if I'm going to put this level to this right in front, I need to be at 20. So I need to get a 20-inch beam. 20-inch beam. Right there. And right there. So, just like before, we'll hook this down in the bottom. That gives me a pivot. But it's going to stay somewhat in place. Then I'm going to take my level, put on my pivot, take my tape measure. I took them both outside. Levelness of this is irrelevant. What I'm trying to do is make it level to this. So the same as before, put this right on my beam, level the front, there I am on the floor, level the front. I'm going to go to 94 and a half. Yep, 94 and a half. So now I need to get a piece of wood cut, 94 and a half, and I can finish that. Here we go, fun part. Put it on 1. Slower but stronger. So now we're going to change gears. We're going to change gears because you have enough support to put up our top. And the end is going to be right to the top and supporting the top. So we're going to put the top on, then we're going to come back and finish what we started. So right now we got to put our top beams on. So let's go get our top beams. Okay, so I have my 2x6 in the back, 2x9 and 2x9, which should be 2x10, but they gave me 9, not 10, 9.5. Okay, that one's right. This one's 9. I got a 2x9 and I got a 2x9.5. And then I got a 2x5.5, which should be a 2x6. When they measure wood, they measure the wood of what it starts at, then they smooth it. So you basically pay for them smoothing your wood before you even get it. But yet, you don't get the pieces they cut off to smooth it. So that's why it's a 2x6, but you get only a 2x5. It's not even 2, it's 1.5. And all that wood that's extra goes into my walls, which I paid extra to get the walls as well. So I am using screws for the top. I did use nails to put the bottom in, but when it comes to the top, I like using real screws. And I use real long screws so it stays in. Push it as close to the wall as I can get, and then we'll put our screw in. There's my back. Now I do my end. Everywhere you have a cross beam, if you put 2 nails, you're actually getting a triangle seam. This beam was so far off at the end because the wood being warped a little bit. I wanted to measure it to make sure it was not over leveling it and it was going to be level when it's down, and it is. Now what I'm going to do also is I'm going to put a couple Let's measure this. Let's measure this. That will just fit. So I'm going to use this to put some screws in, which are a little bit long, so I'll have to go kitty corner. To hold my workbench right where I want it, which is right where it is. And that will hold the top in place, because that side doesn't have the same support. This side has one from the side. So putting one there will hold that in place. And I'll put another one here and another one here with that gun. Okay, so now we're ready for the next board. And the next board. So this had a side effect of bulging that out some. So I'm going to take that out, put my board in place, then I'll put that back in. Two screws. One close to the edge, one about an inch from the edge. Same thing over here. Push the board up as far as you can go. Put your screw in. Want it to go a little bit closer, put a little bit of an angle in it, so as it goes down it pushes it in. And the final piece. Actually, let's put this back in. Put that back in. This one is not down all the way. Now it is. Push this one in all the way. Hit it with a screw. I have a feeling that screw is not going to be easy to come out. And I'm going to skip to this side because the screw in the front goes down into the beam. So take your screw, put it underneath, put your finger on it, put your screw on top, bend it up, you have a dot. That is the edge of your board underneath. Then you have 2.5 inches, so measure in an inch, and now you have the center of your board underneath. And the one here will hold the board in the front in place as well. Same trick. Screw touch, hold, put your finger on it, turn your hand upside down, put your screw down, bend it up, make a circle, measure back 1 inch. Now you're in the middle of the bottom. Now I got drawers. Now I got workbench. All I got to do is do the end piece. This end piece is a little bit simpler. Let's focus on the end piece here. You notice all our boards are kind of funky. That's expected. We want to go to the bottom here, put our beam right on the edge of where we want to be. We'll take one of these little super screws. We know there's nothing behind this right here. Put it on the edge. Put it into our wall. Now we're going to take our square and square this up. Off a little extra pieces here and there. Square this up. That's going to square our wall. We're going to put our knee on it. Then we're going to take a piece of wood, put against our piece of wood, put our level on that piece of wood, which is going to level that piece of wood since that sticks over without having to worry about it. My level's up there and it's level. So that means you hook this down. Hit a beam there, you can hear the difference. I said I wasn't going to go directly through, and I'm not. That's why I put the screws here. These are all on an angle. So now I have my shelving unit. Not yet. Missing some pieces of wood. So the first thing we want to do is you want to go up. Like I said, this one is different than the other ones. So I'm going to put this on top. We're going to get our tape measure. We're going to use this to measure. That is perfect. From this corner to this corner. All this waviness will go away when I put that extra beam. This is a 2x6. Remember, this is the end. Going down 3.5 inches. Then we're going to continue. So with that being said, this is perfectly level. So I know that I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to go from here, and I want to be at 37 and a quarter. So that's what I'm looking for. Magical numbers, 37 and a quarter. Put this under here. And we're going to hook this up to here. Same method. Piece of wood on piece of wood. Level, everything held together. Want to check your overhang? Piece of scrap wood, go to one of your overhangs, make a line. Go to your new overhang, use the line. Make sure the overhang is right. Looks all the same. Okay, so we know the overhang here is right. We know that's right. So now we can actually screw this down. Same method. We'll go in. Now one thing we do have to make sure, 2x6 fits there, 2x6 does not fit here. I want it to fit straight. Center of the beam, finger, over, bend it up, go back an inch. Now we're going to be in the middle. This is a support beam, so we're going to go over a little bit and we're going to put 2 screws in. One is not important as the other, but it will keep it from squirming. That's why we're using 2 different screws. No sense wasting the good ones. So, now we're ready. This is going to take some work. We have one beam here that's warped. Actually, both of these are warped a little bit. So there's going to be a little bit of space. So this front piece is 24 and a half. I have almost a 1/4 inch here and a 1/4 inch here from this being warped. What I would need is a square tool. Basically, it is a square. I can bolt it to the metal, put a vise clamp in it, and run it out, and then clamp all this in. I have to consider myself, is it important enough to go through all that and spend half a day building a tool to make it half when it's half an inch off and it's a workbench that's going to be sturdy as hell? I would say no, it's not. People might disagree with me. I'm going to say no, it's not worth it. So with that being said, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to go out 23 and a 1/4. get my 2x6, measure it 23 1/4, and that is going to be giving me my end piece. Okay, so this is going to be a little tricky. Remember, all these are warped. Using your leg and all your might. You missed the mark. That's what you do with all your mic. You missed the mark. If you don't have a bunch of might, one way you can do this is put a piece of wood against the wall, put your foot under it or your leg under it. Moving back, you get a lot more strength going back to hold it up, like so. And you can do the same thing in the opposite motion by adjusting the board out a little bit. And that holds that up. Now, since this is under such stress, because I am dealing with wood that's warped, I'm going to put a couple screws, only one at this end and one at that end. Put them low enough that you'll see why in a minute. This one's kind of questionable. Now we got to hook our top boards down to get a level surface. Level down. If you have a screw you want to put in and it starts curving because it's following the path of the wood, don't let it do that. If it follows the path of the wood, it will actually strip and crack the wood. You forget that, you want to go the opposite direction and go the opposite of what it's trying to do, so it does not follow the path of the wood. Now remember our table saw. Remember our saw over here. Now it sits on a nice bench. That's not where it goes. It's going down there. So, to measure the distance that we need to do, take that, put on here. I can do this side, doesn't matter which side it is. Something like this, put on there, put tension on it. That represents our piece of wood we're going to have sitting here with all the tension on it. Now we have a flat edge. Now we can take one of our little pieces of wood we have for various things. Looking. Use it outside last. Take our piece of wood, put it up to our flat edge we just put there, and now we have a line we can draw. The best place for this line is going to be the back, right next to it. So we can take that section. You know, this is my issue. Always looking for a tape measure. Always. And now we can measure our piece of wood we just made. So you know about that. It's still exactly 3.5. So a trick with that, we take our tape measure, we set it so it's 3.5. Normally it would be a trick. This sticks out too far. Usually you'd just be able to set the tape measure there and do that. I guess you can still bend it a little bit. It gives you your 3.5. I'm saying 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, and then it dawns on me. 2x4, as I originally mentioned, is exactly 3.5. So what I can do, I can take a 2x4, where's my cut surface? Cut surface is going to be right there. That's what counts. Two by four added to the cut surface. So we're going to do this the other way. 2x4 on top. I'm going to take my 2x4 and add to that. I'm going to tack this in place. Notice I say tack. I'm tacking it because it's not going to stay. Now I take my 2x4, which happens to be almost the right length, put it there. Turn it sideways. That is exactly where my beam needs to be for across here. I can put this here like this. I can put this under here like this. I can hit this like this. Take this out. Take this out. Use my level. Level. When I take my 2x4 and I put down my support, the difference there, that pest, it's oddball, but it doesn't give me a 1. The difference there is going to be exactly 3.5 inches. So there's my next section, all ready to go. Right across there. I just need to screw that in so it doesn't move at all. Now we change gears. My son is visiting. My son is currently sleeping. He works on a different work schedule, different school schedule. He's from college. So that being said, he's sleeping. And I'm doing work until he gets up, because then I won't be doing this. We'll do something else that we can do together. Because he's not a woodworking person. Likes the outcome, doesn't like the labor though. I don't think it's labor. I think he's just not interested in it. He'd rather deal with his drugs he's studying, his schooling, math, things like that. So hopefully I get to other things. And then on the other hand, hopefully I don't. Because if I don't get to other things when I finish this, or even if I don't finish this, it's all because we're doing something with my son, which doesn't visit often. So if I finish it, great. If I don't, we'll do it another day. You can tell by what shirt I have on. I only have one of these shirts. So we're ready to get my pencil and my paper. I need 3 feet. So I'm going to go out 3 feet, which means I'm going to come to right here, marking my wall. 3 feet minus 1.5, which is 1.5, which should be yeah, 3 and 3. 3 feet minus 3 inches. So that's the beam I need on the back. So now I'm starting over again on my cutting saw blade. Since it's a wide device, I want it to be perfect. We're going to start over again, and we're going to make it perfectly level. So we're going to start right here, and we're going to make it perfect level right across to there. Can't use my nail gun because I'm going directly to the wall, so I'm using my screws. Came off, of course. So I'm going to readjust it. Make it again. Perfectly level. Now I'm going to take my drill bit. I do have a luxury of having a beam right here in the middle of my beam. So I'm going to drill my holes as I did before. And two more of my super long screws in. That way I can make sure that beam doesn't move. You can feel them catch on the drill. There's a little bit of delay. When you're going from wood to metal, I recommend using speed 1. Okay, so now I have my top here my back beam here. I'm still off. I'm going to go out from here. What is my distance out? So let me measure this on this side because they're both the same. My distance out is going to be 22. Yeah. Looking at 22. Yeah. Looking at 22. See, I can find something I can use some scrap. Look at that. 22. It's 122. Check it to make sure. Yep. Betcha I can get 22 out of one of these. Yes, I can. So here's one of these buggers. $22 again. New pine. Fresh cut. You could say fresh as far as growth. Come from a pine forest probably. Old pine. Ancient tree. Considered soft. Considered soft. Now considered very, very hard. Same size. Strength is not even comparable. So I'm going to put the old pine on top. That's where it counts. Let me tack this in place. Probably works better if I have a battery on it. Took the battery off for my drill. Thanks for telling me, everybody. Take a piece of wood, put on top. Most of the weight on the board itself, not much hanging off. Take new piece of wood. Now you have a bumper. Line it up, touch. Staple. Ow. Lines right up. As you know, I'm going to be putting a piece going down. I'm not worried about support. I'm worried about making this level so I can measure my front. Then I'll measure the back. And of course, all my tape measures are outside again. Same as always. Take our tape measure, put under our piece of wood so it stays. Hold it up. Take our level, put on our piece of wood. I should be on this side so I can see it better. No, the wood on the bottom is not down yet. Level is more important than anything here. So I'm doing this backwards. Oh my God. It's perfectly level. I didn't even do anything. I just bolted it on. Absolutely perfectly in the middle. Maybe the weight of the level did some things. I'm going to leave everything exactly the way it is and get my mark. 86. There you go again. Those centimeter things. 86. Do I have an 86? That's definitely not 86. That's 28. Do I have an 86? Let me go search for a 2x4. I have to have a piece of 2x4 someplace. Okay, 3 feet. So the end's being done differently because it's a different game. That last one was interesting. Hit something and came back at me. Okay. I got my 3-footers across the top. Everything is leveled. Now for the big test. Big test. No, I'm not going to cut my level, but this makes it good for the test. So there you go. Put this in. I'm going to bolt this down, and that's its new home. Okay, so I put this in place, and it does fit. So now I'm taking a screw and putting a little rubber grommet on it, screwing it down so it doesn't move. Can move a little bit, but can't move a lot. Whoops. A little rubber foot fell off that side. So I can take these all off. I don't want one that's crooked, because there's no rubber foot on it. Get in there. Rubber, 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 rubber. Okay, all the rubbers are on. I'm butting up this side right next to the wood. As going next to the back. Because I can loosen this and turn it from side to side. So that I'm against the wall. Not really. Against the wood. Now I'm going to bolt it down. Just a little bit of pressure. Not trying to grill it down. And try to get the same when it touches, try to get the same little amount so everything is level when you get done. There. I actually do have a plug here. Which does not reach. I have an extension cord which goes to the plug. So you can plug it in. There's a light underneath. That's good, so I can see. Has a safety button. You know, with it here, I had to cut something. So this gets in the way of cutting if you're cutting something too short. So this one should be on this side. Doesn't have that problem. There. There we go. It works. First piece of actual equipment that's been installed in the new work shed. So now it's time to have some fun. Let's open some shit up.